All right, welcome back to Developer Roadmaps. Last time, we got our CSS file connected to our HTML. So now, what do we actually put in that file? Today, we're diving in to learn the language of CSS itself, the syntax, and the selectors that are the heart of styling. Let's get started.
So just to recap where we're at, we've got that link set up between our HTML and our CSS. The pipeline is there. Now it's time to actually send some styles through it. And yeah, that really is the big question, right? You've got this empty style sheet staring back at you. So what do you actually write in it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover. We're going to crack open that file and get familiar with the basic grammar of CSS. Okay, so before you can write a masterpiece, you've got to learn the alphabet and how to form a sentence. It's the same with CSS. Every style, whether it's just changing text color or building some crazy complex layout, follows the exact same basic structure. This is the grammar of CSS, and once you get this down, everything else starts to click into place.
At its core, CSS is just a set of instructions for the browser. We call each instruction a CSS rule or a rule set, and every single rule answers two simple questions. First, what element on the page are we targeting? And second, how do we want it to look?
All right, let's take a look at a real example. This little snippet here is a complete CSS rule. It looks super simple, I know, but trust me, every single character here has a job to do. So let's break it down piece by piece.
The very first part is called the selector. Its job is pretty simple. It points to the HTML element or elements that you want to style. In this case, that P is targeting every single paragraph tag, the P tags, on your page.
Right after the selector, you have what's called the declaration block. This is where the magic happens. It holds all the style rules. And you see those curly braces? Those are super important. They're like bookends, telling the browser, hey, all the styles for the P tags start here and end here.
Now inside those curly braces, we have our declarations, and each one is just a pair. A property and a value. The property is what you want to change, like color, or maybe font size. The value is what you want to change it to, like blue. You connect them with a colon, and this is key. You have to end every single declaration with a semicolon. That's how the browser knows where one style ends and the next one begins.
Okay, before we get any deeper into selectors, I want to cover a quick but really important pro tip for writing good code, and that's comments.
Comments are basically just notes that you can leave inside your code. Anything you write between /* and */ gets completely ignored by the browser. They're great for explaining why you did something, which is super helpful for your future self or for anyone else working on the code. You can also use them to quickly turn off a style rule to see what happens without it. It's a really handy debugging trick.
All right, we've got the basic anatomy of a CSS rule down. Now let's start looking at the different kinds of selectors we can use, starting with the most basic ones, targeting by tag and, well, targeting everything.
The first one is the element selector, and you've actually already seen this one. It's when you just use the HTML tag name, like P or H1. This is your broad brush. It selects every single element of that type on the page. You write a rule for H1, and boom, every H1 gets styled. Simple as that.
And then we have the Select Everything button, the universal selector. It's just an asterisk. And yeah, it does exactly what it sounds like. It matches every single element on the entire page. People often use this for what's called a CSS reset, to zero out default browser styles. Just know that it's the weakest selector of them all. Any other rule will beat it in a fight. We'll get more into that specificity idea later, don't worry.
So, targeting all paragraphs or all headings is great, but what if you only want to style some of them? For that, we need to get more precise. And that brings us to the two workhorses of CSS selectors, classes and IDs.
Let's start with the class selector. This is probably the one you're going to use the most. The whole idea behind a class is reusability. You create a style, you give it a name, which always starts with a dot, by the way, and then you can sprinkle that class onto any HTML element you want. And this example shows that off perfectly. See how we just made one rule in our CSS for .highlight? Then, over in the HTML, we can add class equals highlight to a paragraph, and also to a span. The H2 doesn't have the class, so it's not affected. It's a super efficient way to work. Okay, now for the other side of the coin, the ID selector. If a class is like a paint roller you can use everywhere, an ID is like a sniper rifle. It's meant to target one and only one element on a page. The rule is an ID has to be unique. You target it in your CSS with a hash symbol. It's for those special one-of-a-kind elements like your main header or the footer.
So here's the bottom line, the main takeaway. Use a class when you have a style you might want to use more than once. Think one style, many elements. Use an ID for a unique landmark element that appears only once. Think one style, one element. Get that distinction down and you're golden.
Okay, new scenario. Let's say you want all your headings, your H1s, H2s, and H3s, to have the same font. You could give them all the same class, but that feels like extra work, doesn't it? Is there an easier way?
I mean, you could do this. You could write a rule for H1, then copy it for H2, then copy it again for H3. But just look at it. It's so repetitive. This breaks a really important coding principle called DRY, which stands for don't repeat yourself. Not only is this more typing, but imagine you want to change the font later. You'd have to change it in 3 different places. That's just asking for trouble.
So yeah, there has to be a better way. And there is. CSS has a really nice, clean solution for this. It's called the grouping selector. All you do is list out every selector you want to target. H1, comma, H2, comma, H3, and then you write your style block just one time. Look how much cleaner that is. Now, if you want to change the font, you only have to change it in one place. So much better.
Okay, that was a lot, but it's all super important stuff. Let's take a quick pause and put what we've just learned on our roadmap. This is our next checkpoint.
So, you now have 5 fundamental tools in your CSS toolkit. You know how to target by element type, how to use the universal wildcard, how to create reusable classes, how to pinpoint unique IDs, and how to group selectors to keep your code clean and efficient. This is the foundation for everything else in CSS.
Definitely think of this as a key checkpoint on your developer journey. We've laid the foundation with simple selectors, but what comes next is where it gets really powerful. We're going to learn how to combine these selectors, target elements based on their relationships to each other, and a whole lot more.
You've really leveled up your understanding of how to style the web today. The best thing you can do now is just practice with these selectors. Experiment with them. You'll be more than ready for our next stop. This is Developer Roadmaps. Map your path, build your career. Thanks for watching.